What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a buy low, sell high guest expert edition here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. We'll be joined by Raphielle Johnson in just a matter of moments, but I am here at the front end to give you a quick preview of what's coming up on today's show. Raf's got some sweet targets to work on in trades with, no games yesterday and today, but these are targets that you can use throughout, even as games come back. And of course, BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. They've got the earliest odds and in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, including the largest selection of odds on everything. They've got football, NBA, college basketball, hockey, UFC. So head there today. That's BetOnline. And don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE for a sweet welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here. I am Dan Baspers at Dan Baspers on Twitter. Make sure to drop a follow over there. I'm Old Man Squad on the new Blue Sky Network. And of course, don't forget to do that liking and subscribing and all that good stuff, because we've actually seen the YouTube channel kind of take a little bit of a jump again over the last week, which is really cool. It does seem like you guys enjoyed the top 10 breakdown from yesterday. So that's a type of show that we can probably do again in the future. And just, you guys know at this point, I'm taking a handful of darts in terms of like what types of shows really click with the listener, in addition to making sure that we do all the recap stuff, which of course we don't have today because the game yesterday, the NBA Cup Finals, Milwaukee prevailed in a game that for the vast majority of fantasy websites didn't count, nor should it, because it's an 83rd game for two specific teams that shouldn't play a role in anything. But enough of that nonsense. Let's make sure that we just get straight to our guest. You guys have heard enough rambling from me. Let's bring in Raf, and let's hear what he's got to add to your team or subtract from it. Here we go. And there he is now, the aforementioned Raphielle Johnson at Raphielle J on social media. He is, of course, the pride of RotoWorld Fantasy Basketball. It's one of them OG sites, man. RotoWorld. That's what we all grew up on. Raf, how's it going, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Frazzled, tired, the usual. Everybody's used to my nonsense at this point. No surprises on the Dan side. So as everybody knows, these buy low, sell high shows, the guests are in control, and whatever happens, I'm going to have to live with the results. Although, let's be honest, things are usually more organized when guests are in charge of the show than when my insane brain is in charge of this show. So, Raf, you've got some buys, you've got some sells. Where would you like to go first?
I think I'm going to start with Jaren Jackson Jr. And he's someone who's closing in on first-round fantasy value in 9-cap formats. I believe he can maintain that value. But I think the question here is, if you have him rostered, are you selling? Or are you holding? Because I think he's obviously someone that people are going to like just because of the skill set that he brings to the table. And then at that point, you kind of wonder what would be the return for him. That's the part that I struggle with, because I don't know if you can get like a first-round lock for him, but you can certainly make the argument that he's deserving of such a return in a trade. So I feel like we should kind of talk that out first.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on this one, because he's at 52% shooting. And it was one of these things where, and I'll admit, I wimped out on JJJ this year because I was afraid. And not that like I thought it was going to be a bad season. It just, to me, there was always this like, what if the usage stays lower or comes back down, I should say, because it was really high last year because no Ja and then no Bane for a while. And like he was the last man standing for a long stretch. What if the usage comes back down, but the efficiency doesn't come back up? That was my fear with him. And because, if you're going to spend a third rounder on someone, you kind of want to know what the floor is, but we didn't. Now, as it turns out, it was more the opposite, where the usage didn't really drop off all that much, and the efficiency has come back, and it's created this almost perfect storm of, okay, he's not blocking 3 shots a game, but the efficiency is as good as it's ever been, and he's still scoring over 20 points a ball game. I'll be honest, I don't fully know if this is like full sustainable. And I think you've also made the excellent point of, if you tried to shop him, you're probably not going to get someone that's better than like 25, 30 back. So is there even a reason for that? Long answer to say, Ralph, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know on this one. Like, do you think because usually I go to effective field goal percent, and maybe that is going to be the thing that tells us the story. It's good there this year, 58%, but he was at 57 2 years ago. So it's not like it's way out past anything he's done in his career. He was actually at 57% his sophomore season in the NBA. Like, this is potentially sustainable.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you're better off just riding it, because I don't think you're going to get a top 15 guy back for him right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's where I land as well. Because the efficiency, it came up in part because those guys returned, but like you mentioned, the shooting hasn't been too different. There hasn't been too much of a gap in terms of shot attempts per game. I think he's down like 2 per game, and he's shooting like 7 percentage points higher. So having Ja and Bane on the court more consistently has opened some things up for Jaren, and he's taking advantage. You add in the defense, what you're going to get there, and I think he's a really good guy to have rostered. At this point, we're just kind of wondering, if you wanted to acquire him, what would you have to give up? So
That's also a really good question. I feel
yeah.
like, well, I don't know. I suppose it depends a little bit on the manager, but I feel like you ought to be able to get him for a second rounder. Is that a good enough deal for you to make that player? Like, do you think that would get it done? Do you think the other manager would do it?
It's possible. We're all in different leagues. Some leagues you have aggressive managers, and others you have managers who really just want to stand pat and try to figure things out with their current roster. So that's a big part of it. It may be a case where you'd have to offer a second rounder with clear first round potential, as opposed to like a second round lock. That can be difficult to do, but I think that would be where you're kind of leaning here, because you're not going to get him for like a straight up second rounder, I don't think.
Yeah, it would have to be one of those big name second rounders, like a Devin
Mhm.
Booker or a Kevin Durant or Damian Lillard or something like that. And
Yep.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I would have the stones to sell those guys for JJJ. Would you?
Probably not. Just because you know how like league manager opinion can be, like, in some cases they just see the big names and say, what are you doing? Like, they think you're trying to actively sabotage the league or something, when that's
Yeah.
not the case at all. But yeah, I think you're onto something where it'd probably take a huge name brand guy to be able to reel in Jaren Jackson Jr. via trade.
This is a really interesting name, because I forget who we talked to last week that was like, yeah, maybe you could sell high on him. But I feel like yours is now kind of the more measured take, which is like, can you even sell high on him? Can you buy on it? The only way to buy on him is you've got to find that it's a real needle threading. You've got to find the manager who has him that doesn't think it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And then could you potentially get him for what Evan Mobley is number 17 right now. That's the kind of guy where you're like, okay, maybe someone else is higher on Mobley than JJJ, but I don't know. I think I'm in the camp of let it ride at this point. It seems like if it comes down a little bit, maybe it's the steals, maybe it's the 3-point percent, but it's not much. And he's number 13, I think, in 9-cat right now. So I think see how far he carries you. That's my take on JJJ. Raph, where do you want to go second?
I think we're going to go to someone who a lot of us have been kind of waiting for, like, the bottom to fall out on, but it hasn't. And it's Julian Champagnie, the San Antonio Spurs. He started out as a starter. He remains in the starting lineup, even with guys like Devin Vassell coming back healthy, Jeremy Sohan as well. They seem to really like him, and he's played well. He's, like, I think, a top 80 fantasy player right now. I feel like he's a clear sell high, but I don't know what you'd be able to demand in return for him if you were to sell, because you're not going to get like a top 80 player. I don't even know if a top 100 player may be possible via trade, even with his production. So this is another player I feel like we can kind of talk through a little bit here.
Yeah, that's another tough one. You're bringing toughies today, Raph. We're talking to Raphielle Johnson of RotoWorld at Raphielle J, RAPHIELLE, and then the letter J if you want to find him on Twitter. Man, this is a tough one. I'm totally with you. I think you got to sell. as the Spurs are getting healthier, his role is going to shrink. And it's, I think, if you've rostered him, you've been a little bit fortunate at how slowly the Spurs have brought along Devin Vassell and bringing back Jeremy Sohan and like all the players that are going to cut into this. So he's been able to kind of string a little bit extra together. But then you can also see, there's this 37-minute game in there, but the other three around it were 30, 24, and 27, which again, not low minutes, but not like if you look at the previous week, it was 31, there was a 38, 37, 38, 39. Actually, it's more of like a 40 if you round up. He's not playing 38 right now with Sohan and Vassell back. He's playing mid to high 20s. And so the drop-off is coming. So then the question becomes, I think you and I are in agreement on that part, is there anything you can get back for him? I would use him to try to get maybe someone like a Naz Reid, who has been frustrating for managers, but I would argue that a lot of the frustration there stems from the fact that the Wolves have been frighteningly healthy so far this year. Gobert hasn't missed a game. Ant-Man hasn't missed a game. Julius Randle hasn't missed a game. Jaden McDaniels hasn't missed a game. It just takes any one of those four to miss a single game, and Naz Reid will play 28 or 29 minutes instead of 25. And then now you're getting a guy who posts 85, 90 range value. But I guess maybe you could make the same argument on Champagnie. All it takes for him is one of the Spurs to be out. So then I guess the question is, Raph, of those types of players, which one would you rather have? Yeah?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. I think Naz Reid would certainly be in that mix. Another player ranked in a similar area is Herb Jones.
It's me, all the Herb. Love me.
If you can get like a Herb Jones type player, because even when like Ingram and Zion return, he's going to figure prominently in that rotation just because of how good he is as a defender. So I don't expect him to continuously do things like attempt 17 shots as he did on Sunday, but Herb Jones, that would be someone that maybe you could possibly, reel him in, because he hasn't been disappointing. It's just that he missed a long stretch due to injury, and that team has been a disappointment. So maybe you'd be able to get him in exchange for a Champagnie if you're looking to sell high, but that may be a bit of a reach just because we kind of know what Herb's potential is, but I don't think it would be a bad idea to try for it.
A few names that I would throw out, just looking at the Basketball Monster rank board of guys ranked between like 95 and 120 that you might have an outside shot at. I'll rattle them off lightning round style. These are targets I would give a shot because I think it's a non-zero chance that it would actually work. Keegan Murray, he's driving fantasy managers crazy. Bilal Coulibaly, you might be able to reel him in for Champagnie. Already mentioned Naz Reid. Ayo Dosunmu is one that I might consider, just due to the fact we know the Bulls are looking to blow it up, and that would create more opportunity for him in a way that with Champagnie, it's kind of going the other direction a little bit. Maybe like a Derek Lively, but you probably won't get him, even though he's ranked lower than all of the other names I just mentioned. Zach Edey would be one I'd consider trying to go get. Drew Holiday, Draymond Green, those guys are a little bit more name brandy, so that might be tougher, but they are ranked low, and so their managers might be annoyed. That's what I would try to do, I think, with Champagnie. And again, like if you get some hot shooting nights, great, that's the time to do it, but you can see the minutes are going the wrong way, and now's the time to probably try to cash in. Raph, before we get to number 3, promo time. Tell everybody what you're working on these days.
Over the last week, we're starting to work on some different things. We're going to have a roundtable coming out on Christmas Eve to talk about the fantasy season thus far. Maybe even give out some fantasy basketball related gifts for players and teams. We'll see what happens there. But released our first top 200 rankings that we're going to be updating every week throughout the season. Obviously an inexact science, but there should be something to keep track of as we kind of track the highs and lows in some of these players. And just more of the usual stuff, a lot of game notes, a lot of news and injury notes, and it's trade season in the NBA too. Obviously, Dennis Schroeder has already moved on Sunday, so I think things are going to really pick up between now and February for all of us.
I hope so. I personally, I could use some games again. This
Yeah.
NBA Cup stretch has been such a fits and starts part of the fantasy season because they didn't extend the whole year. They just mushed the rest of it tighter and then left this second gap on top of the All-Star break. Again, we have two more names on today's show, but before we get to those, a quick reminder again, talking to Raphielle Johnson of RotoWorld, RaphieLleJ on social media, Raphielle J. Guest who is once again steering the boat. Where shall we go for number 3?
I think we're going to stick in a similar ranking range of the guys you mentioned in terms of possible trade targets for Champagnie. And go with Miles Bridges. Been a bit disappointing this season, I would say. Obviously, he's missed some time due to injuries, but even when on the floor, it kind of feels like things are trending away from him in terms of, the fantasy value, because you have Brandon Miller, you got LaMelo Ball, of course, who stayed relatively healthy. So Miles Bridges, they think the question is he a buy low or do you just leave him alone outright? Because the potential is there. We've seen him have really good runs in fantasy, but it just hasn't clicked. And I kind of wonder if this is a situation where it probably isn't going to click this season.
So is this not a buy low? This is a get the hell off and when you can?
I think either one. If you have faith in him kind of turning things around, maybe you try to buy low, but I don't know if you don't, maybe you just, I think that would be more my question here, if anything.
So I think, he is right kind of on that razor's edge of what to do with. I think he's probably, not that I don't want to make this about my opinion on a guy, but I think he's probably a small buy low right now. Yeah. But then again, it comes down to what it would take to get him. He's right in that same range. Like you said, 104, I think, on Basketball Monster. I'm guessing it would take more than 104 to get him just because of where he was drafted, which was around 60-ish. I don't know if he gets all the way back to 60. So now you're kind of trying to figure out where between 104 and 60, how much am I willing to give up to still create a little bit of a value pocket there? I think he probably pushes above 90 because it's pretty easy to jump around between 100 and 90, one good game and he'll jump 15 rosters or 15 rank slots. And again, for me, a lot of my analysis, and it's a bit of an oversimplification because it doesn't look into shot distribution and things of that nature. But again, his 3-point percentage is down. He's about 3-4% under his career mark there. His 2-point percentage is basically at his career low. He's been this low before, but not consistently, and certainly not when he's been playing alongside LaMelo Ball. So my hope is that we do see that slight uptick. His steals are also at a career low. Maybe that's a thing that doesn't come back, but everybody else in the NBA has high steals this year. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. So I would probably look to give up someone maybe in that 85 to 95 window with some name power, because I think, and I don't know how long it takes because we're pretty far in and it hasn't happened yet, but I think he moves past them. Do you feel similarly, or are you not willing to go that high?
I think I can see it happening. I think that 85 to 95 range probably be where you kind of want to aim in terms of potential trade target. But the only issue is some of those players are just guys that have kind of really underperformed.
Yeah, I know they're all buy lows in there.
Yeah, like a DeJounte Murray, for example. Obviously he had the broken hand to start the year, but he's someone who thought would be a top 40 player, and he's mid 80s.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is down there as well. So it's
yeah,
you're obviously not going to get Joel Embiid for Miles Bridges, but some of maybe a Kobe White, because he's kind of performing the form. Maybe someone like him would be a guy that you'd be willing to give up to get him. CJ or better yet,
I think I'd do McCollum is another one I'd consider. Yeah, there's a few in there that might get it done. I like Kobe White. I like CJ. I might go Andrew Wiggins feels like a possible. I don't know if it would. Yeah, I think I'd probably go that route. I think I'd go Miles Bridges there. I don't know if I'd go much higher on the board. You're probably not going to get him for DeAndre Hunter, but you certainly should try that one. Here's an interesting one. maybe this is just team build. What do you think about Cam Thomas for Miles Bridges? Because Cam is hurt right now, and I know he's going to get to do a billion things, but like he's probably going to take 20 shots and shoot a lower percentage. Maybe that's about like what you're punting, if anything. I don't know. That didn't end up being philosophically brilliant.
I mean, no, because Cam is at 46%, so he'd actually be an improvement on Miles in that regard. I think what you wind up punting is like the defensive potential.
Yeah,
because you really aren't going to get any steals or blocks from Cam. The assists, I don't know. He's at 3.4 per game, which isn't terrible, but I don't really see too much potential there, given how much he likes to shoot the ball. So it's like you're going to be punting a couple categories, but like you said, Cam Thomas is someone that he's probably going to get a lot of opportunities once he's back healthy.
Yeah, with Schroeder gone too.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I think if you could pull that off, I mean, why not?
Yeah. Throw it out. The hell with it. All right, Raph, who's number 4? Take us to your last stop on this magical journey.
All right, my 4th pick is a guy that I've been really high on in fantasy, and he's kind of backed it up this far, and it's Tari Eason. Just outside the top 50, I think for someone coming off the bench, you'd kind of assume, oh, he's a sell high. I feel like he's a hold. Just because of what he brings to the table, the rebounding, the defensive stats. I believe his field goal percentage is pretty good as well. At 47.5 from the field, a little under 76 from the foul line. But the defensive potential, the rebounding, I think he's someone that I would hold on to or attempt to acquire as opposed to selling, just even though he's ranked as high as he is.
I love that take. It has stones, and I think it's spot on top of everything else, because Houston, like Minnesota, has been strikingly healthy so far this year. I feel like Tari Eason is basically the only Rocket that's missed a game. I think Freddie VanVleet might have missed 1 or 2 also. But like Jabari Smith Jr. played in every game. Dylan Brooks has played in every game. Alperen Sengun has played in every game. Jalen Green has played in every game. These are the guys that are standing in the way of Tari Eason seeing more than his 22.5 minutes per game. This is what he's done without any path to minutes. He's still been this good. So, I don't know that he's going to necessarily get better because the steal rate has been pretty extraordinary, even by his standards. He's a great steals guy, but this is pretty crazy. But I do think there's a way that extra minutes from other player health can kind of buttress against any kind of potential fall off. And that's a great confluence, because someone out there is probably trying to sell high and thinking, man, if I can get like a top 75 guy back for him, I'll be pretty happy. Meanwhile, you're out there going, like, I think this dude can hang in there. So I'll give you something 2 to 3 rounds lower if you're just trying to play it safe. And we'll, I guess, quote unquote, roll the dice a little bit on him. I think I love the take. Am I missing anything in some of the stuff I added there?
I don't believe so. I think as the games get more important, they're going to need his ability even more in terms of some of the things he brings to the table. So I think, let's see, I need to pull this back up here. He's at 22.8 minutes per game.
Yeah, it's nothing.
If you were to get to 25, like I don't see any reason why he can't sustain what he's done thus far in terms of the production. So yeah, he's definitely someone that I really liked in terms of his fantasy value. Obviously, he had missed a lot of time last season because of the injury, but other than that, I think he's just a really good fantasy player. And if in category leagues, I'm not looking to sell at all on him. If anything, I'd look to buy, even with the ranking being what it is.
Yeah, because I don't think you're going to have to pay his current rank to get him. Like he's at 53. It's not going to take the 54th or 52nd best player to get him. You don't have to give up Cade Cunningham to get Tari Eason. You can probably get him for someone, in the 70s who has even a little bit of name recognition. You could probably get him for Kobe White, who we just talked about. Someone out there's going to want the scoring in the threes, and they're going to be like, yeah, I don't trust that Tari's going to get these rebounds and steals all year. I mean, same kind of bucket as what we were just talking about. I think this is a really interesting take. I love it a lot, and I am actually in pretty strong agreement with it because of that health thing. At some point, a Rocket's going to miss a damn basketball game. I don't know when, but like no teams are. I shouldn't say no. I feel like 2 years ago, the Kings were basically that healthy. It was
Yeah.
like De'Aaron Fox missed 15 games and everybody else missed like a combined 4 or something like that. So it does happen. It's not impossible, but it's very, very improbable that a team's going to stay as healthy as the Rockets have stayed so far this year. All right, Raph, you're off the hot seat. You're officially clear. Again, first of all, you're the man. Second of all, everybody else, check him out wherever you can find his work at RotoWorld, on social media, at Raphielle J. Can we do this again next month and talk trade deadline stash type stuff?
Yeah. I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, I know. We all have like one roster slot and we're going to talk it into oblivion, but it's so much fun to think about what could happen, Like,
Yep.
I don't know why. It's going to have almost no impact on our fantasy teams, but it's damn entertaining to do it every time. Raph, thank you so much, my man. You're the best.
All right. Thanks for having me.
That was interesting. That was fun. You know what? And I got to get my headphones out because these aftermarket garbage headphones, I put one in when I have a guest on and it keeps falling out of my ear. You guys see this if you're watching the show. Like every single time, I keep talking about it and I keep forgetting to just go buy an actual Apple headphones that stay in my, I don't know if my ears are wonky. Maybe they're small. They look fine. I'm looking at them at the screen right now. Like I don't have particularly large or small ears. Of all the things that are wrong with my face, the ears is not really one of it. In any event, I really enjoyed that one a lot. And I like and I don't want this to come off like I didn't like any of the other guest experiences. They're all fantastic. And every guest has played this critical, unbelievable role in the growth of this website. And I could not be more grateful to all of them. But there was something interesting and different about the way that Raph approached the buy low, sell high discussion today. Basically, it was like, are these guys buy lows? Are these guys sell highs? As opposed to this is a buy low or a sell high. And it was an opportunity to look at some of the stuff kind of in between, like Jaren Jackson Jr. Is it a sell high or is it a let it ride? Tari Eason, is it a sell high or is it actually maybe even a buy opportunity if the person who has him is like, yeah, but I don't think this is going to stick. So there are these like in between areas that frankly, we don't cover all that much. Although the one player here that I think we agreed on was Julian Champagnie, who has been consistently decent so far this year, but you're seeing his role slowly shrinking, and that one probably does fall in as maybe your one true sell high, although he has had a pretty good last 3 weeks because Devin Vassell missed some time in there. Jeremy Sohan was coming back. Over the last 2 weeks, however, Julian Champagnie, number 122. So still good enough. That's that filler range we've talked about. And maybe that's where he hangs out all year. Maybe he is a filler level guy, which is playable in a lot of formats. But again, you're seeing the minutes kind of eroding a little bit, just from like mid 30s to 30 or super high 20s or something like that. And he's hit a ton of 3-pointers over the last week. That's kind of floating the number. I think he hit, what am I looking at here? Julian Champagnie. Are we looking at the right guy? What am I missing? I'm missing something. Something screwball. The stats I'm looking at don't make any sense. I'm looking at Julian Champagnie over the last week, and one website has him making 4 3-pointers a game, but then I'm fairly certain that his game log has him at like 1.5 3-pointers a game. Have I lost my damn mind? What's happening here? I've lost my mind. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, cash in where you can, let it ride where you should, and sneak a little extra value out in the spots where you might be able to do it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will have another buy and sell show coming up later on today with my good buddy Adam King. That will be dropping in the early afternoon Pacific time. So there's going to be a little bit of a time gap between the shows because my younger child has a preschool party that I got to go to. Then we're coming back. I'm recording 3 consecutive podcasts this afternoon when I get back from that preschool party. The other buy and sell shows will be dropping tomorrow. Potentially both actually might be dropping tomorrow. And then we'll get back into game recap stuff the day after that, because then games finally come back tomorrow, and they will generally stay back with the small exception of Christmas Eve. So there is one more goose egg in there, but we'll have a 14-game Monday to recap on Christmas Eve. So that'll be a pretty easy one. Your friendly neighborhood Hebrew over here doesn't have much in the way of plans going on, so we'll get some shows for you those days. Will we do a show on Christmas? I don't know if anybody's even going to be listening. We'll think about that when we get there. In the meantime, thanks for watching, everybody. Big thank you to Raphielle Johnson, Raphielle J on social media. Hit that like button. Do it. Do it now. YouTubers, do it now. Subscribe. Again, iTunes, Spotify, whatever format you're taking this in, YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That's the big thing. And if you got a comment, feel free to throw it in there. I do try to get to all the YouTube comments eventually. It's not an exact science. I don't jump in the second that they pop up because I'm bouncing around and doing 1,000 things. But it's part of, the ways that I'm attempting to grow the YouTube page. So that's something that I want to try to keep doing for now. Have a great few hours. We got some more names for you coming up in a little bit. I'm Dan Bespers for the Old Man Squad. Later for now.